Welcome to another episode of Microsoft Knowledge Nuggets. I'm Mirko Peters. Today's topic is one you've probably heard but might not fully understand. Copilot Skills. You've heard the term. Maybe you've seen a button labeled Skills or Create a Skill in some menu and you thought, what does that actually mean? Is it a chatbot, a template, some kind of automation thing? Here's the problem. Microsoft uses different names for the same idea depending on which product you're in. In Copilot Chat, they call them agents. In Co-work, they call them skills. And in Copilot Studio, they also call them skills, but with a slightly different meaning. It's confusing, and honestly, it shouldn't be. By the end of this episode, you'll understand exactly what a Copilot skill is, where it lives, and how to create your first one, all in plain English. What a Copilot skill actually is. Let's break it down with the simplest definition possible. A Copilot skill is a reusable instruction set for AI. Think of it like writing a job description for a temporary worker. You wouldn't just say, do some work. You'd tell them the job, the schedule, the expected output, and the rules to follow. Same thing here. When you create a skill, you give Copilot three things. First, the skill's name. Second, a description that tells Copilot when to trigger it, like, this task matches this skill. Third, the instructions themselves, the step-by-step process for the AI to follow. Here's the important part. A skill is not a chatbot that you sit and talk to. It's a specialist that only activates when needed. You don't have to turn it on or off. Copilot looks at what you're asking, checks for a matching skill, and runs it automatically if there's a match. The best analogy I've found is a recipe card. You have the same ingredients and the same steps every time, and you get the same result. That's a skill. Write the instructions once, and every time Copilot runs that skill, you get the same structured output, consistent and repeatable, with no guessing. Now here's where the confusion starts. Microsoft has placed skills in three different homes, where skills live. So where do skills actually live? That's an important question because the home you pick determines how much control you get and how easy the setup is. Copilot gives you three different homes to create and manage skills, and each one serves a different purpose. The first home is Copilot Chat, specifically the agent builder inside it. This is your easiest path. You just describe what you want in plain English. Name, description, instructions, everything. And Copilot builds the skill for you with zero code and zero markdown. You don't write, you don't touch, you just talk, and it builds. The second home is Copilot Studio, the builder's platform for when you need more hands-on control. Skills here live as MD files, which are just text files with simple formatting, stored alongside instructions and workflows. You can open them up, edit them directly, even add Python scripts if that's your thing. It's more powerful, but it's also more involved. Now, the third home is Copilot Co-work, and this one works a bit differently. Co-work skills are also MD files, but they live in your OneDrive under a specific folder structure. Documents, then Co-work, then skills. You can write a skill in plain text and upload it, or use Co-work's built-in tools to create one. Co-work even runs a quality check after creation to test whether your instructions are clear enough. Here's the thing. All three homes follow the same core concept. Instructions, a trigger, and an output format. The packaging changes, but the idea stays the same. Let me give you the quick comparison. Copilot Chat is describe and go. Simple, fast, no setup. Copilot Studio is build and control, more features, more complexity, and Copilot Co-work is like training a coworker to handle a task for you. You describe the process once, and it executes repeatedly behind the scenes. Let's start with the easiest one, creating a skill right inside Copilot Chat. Creating your first skill, Agent Builder. So you're in Copilot Chat. First thing to find is the Agent Builder. Depending on your interface, it might be under a tab called Agents or a button that says Create. Microsoft moves things around sometimes, but look for the option that lets you describe what you want. That's your entry point. Let me walk you through a real example. Say you take meeting notes all day. You know the drill. Messy bullet points, half-finished sentences, action items buried inside paragraphs. You want Copilot to turn those into clean, structured summaries. So you type something like this. Create a meeting notes skill that takes messy transcripts and turns them into structured summaries with action items and decisions. That's it. One sentence, no instructions to write, no output format to define. You just describe the job. Copilot takes that description and builds the skill for you. It writes the name, the description that tells itself when to use this skill, and the step-by-step instructions. Then it presents everything for your review. You read through, make tweaks if you want, and test it. Here's the process in 4 steps. You describe what you want. Copilot generates the skill. You review and adjust, then you test with real input. When you test, you'll see the output. A structured summary with sections for meeting title, date, attendees, key decisions, action items, discussion topics, and open questions. Everything organized exactly how you asked, with no formatting, no markdown, and no code on your part. And here's the knowledge nugget. You do not need to write a single line of code or markdown. You don't even need to know what a markdown file is. You just describe the job and Copilot handles the rest. It's the fastest way to create a skill, and for most beginners, it's all you'll ever need. Now, if you need more control, maybe you want to add a Python script or a custom workflow, That's when you move to Copilot Studio. Creating skills in Copilot Studio. Copilot Studio is a different animal. It's built for people who want to get under the hood, and it has 3 layers to know about. Instructions are always active. They shape how your agent thinks and responds: tone, role, default behavior. They run behind every conversation. Skills are called on demand. They're expert knowledge for specific, repeatable tasks and only activate when the trigger matches. Workflows are step-by-step processes with approvals and conditions. If you need a guaranteed outcome, like routing something to a manager for approval before sending, that's a workflow. Skills in Studio are packaged as MD files or Markdown files, but they're more than just text. A skill can include scripts, templates, and examples all bundled together. You can attach a Python script for calculations, a Word template for output, and reference documents, all inside one package. Here's the anatomy of a skill, MD file. At the top is the name, something clear and specific like expense calculator. Then a description that says when this skill should trigger. Use this when a user needs to calculate total expenses from receipt data. Then a section for when to use it and another for when not to use it. This prevents the skill from activating in the wrong context. Then the step-by-step instructions. Here's a real example. Say you want a skill that runs a Python script to calculate expenses from uploaded receipts. In Copilot Studio, you create the skill, an MD file, and package the Python script right alongside it. When the skill triggers, it runs the script, processes the data, and returns the result. The skill and code travel together. Use skills for repeatable expertise, tasks where the AI needs to think and adapt. Use workflows for strict order and approvals, tasks where you can't afford variation. Skills are flexible, workflows are rigid. Pick the right tool. And there's one more place skills live, inside Copilot Co-work, and it feels different. Creating skills in Copilot Co-work. Co-work skills live in a different place than you might expect. They're stored as MD files in your OneDrive, under Documents, then a folder called Co-work, and inside that, a folder called Skills. That's where all your custom skills live, and you can open that folder to see every skill sitting there as plain text. There are 2 ways to create a skill in Co-work. You can write it in plain text and upload it directly to that skills folder, or you can use Co-work's built-in skill management tool inside the chat interface. You describe what you want, Co-work creates the MD file and saves it to that folder automatically. After you create a skill, Co-work runs a quality check. It tests trigger coverage, whether your skill activates when it should. It tests instruction clarity, whether your steps are specific enough. And it tests robustness, whether the skill can handle edge cases. You get a report back with results. If something's weak, you know where to improve. Here's a real example. Say you're a real estate agent. After every scoping call with a buyer, you need to turn your notes into a structured one-pager. Budget range, must-haves, deal breakers, next steps. You do this every single time. So you create a skill called Buyer Profile Assistant. You give it trigger phrases like create a buyer profile or summarize client call. You tell it to read the transcript, extract key information, and fill a template. You attach your actual one-pager template so the output matches exactly what you need. Then you test it. You upload a call transcript and say, run the Buyer Profile Assistant. Co-work activates the skill, reads the transcript, and produces a summary in chat. Then you ask it to prepare the Word doc. It pulls your template, populates every section, budget, must-haves, deal breakers, next steps, and hands you a finished document. Same format every time, with no manual formatting or copy-pasting. Co-work skills are built for background delegation. You're not sitting there chatting with the AI. You describe the process once, attach the templates, define the rules, and then Co-work executes it repeatedly. You just drop in the inputs and get the outputs. Those same rules apply whether you're in Studio or Co-work. What makes a good skill? We start with the very name of your skill. It needs to be readable to 2 completely different audiences, humans and AI. Humans need to see what the skill does at a glance. AI needs to find the right skill when a task matches, so go with precise descriptive names. Meeting Notes Summarizer beats Note Taker every time. Buyer Profile Assistant works better than Client Helper. Clever names just confuse everyone involved. Next up, trigger phrases. This is how Copilot knows when to activate your skill. Be specific about it. Don't say use this for meetings. Say use this when a user uploads a meeting transcript and asks for a summary. The more specific your trigger gets, the less likely the skill activates in the wrong context. And if a skill fires when it shouldn't, the output becomes useless real quick. Now, let's talk about instructions. Here's the thing most people get wrong. Skills are called on demand. They're not always active. Every time the skill runs, it burns AI processing. So keep your instructions short and focused. Don't dump your entire company policy in there. Just the steps needed for that one specific task. Short instructions mean faster execution and lower consumption overall. Output format matters too. You want to tell the skill exactly how to structure its output. Give me a summary with these sections: meeting title, date, attendees, key decisions, action items, open questions. If you have a template, a Word doc or an Excel file, include it. The skill can use that template as a reference and match your existing format exactly. Rules and exceptions are where good skills separate from bad ones. Think about the edge cases. Always flag unclear items. Never remove people's names. If the transcript is too short, ask for more input. These rules prevent the skill from making bad assumptions. They act like guardrails that keep the output reliable. Avoid ambiguity at all costs. Don't create two skills with similar names or overlapping triggers. If you have a meeting notes skill and a meeting summary skill sitting side by side, Copilot won't know which one to use. The AI will guess, and sometimes it'll guess wrong. If two skills overlap, merge them into one. Keep your skill library clean. And finally, test and iterate. Run sample inputs through your skill. Check the output. Does it match what you expected? If not, refine the instructions. Add a rule. Clarify the trigger. Then test again. Skills improve through iteration, not through getting it perfect on the first try. So skills are the specialized workers, instructions are the background policy. Workflows are the strict processes. How do they fit together? The big picture. Skills versus instructions versus workflows. All right, let's tie everything together now, because this is where people get tripped up. Instructions, skills, and workflows are not competing ideas. They're three layers that work together, and each one handles a different part of the job. Instructions are always active. They shape how your agent thinks and responds. Tone, role, defaults, that's instructions. Think of it like the personality and ground rules. Be helpful, use plain English, never make up facts. That runs in the background of every single interaction, whether a skill is active or not. Skills package, reusable expertise. They are called on demand for specific, repeatable tasks. Instructions say, be helpful. A skill says, when someone uploads a meeting transcript, do this exact series of steps. Instructions are the policy. Skills are the playbook. Workflows enforce deterministic processes. This is the strict one. Approvals, conditions, guaranteed outcomes. If you need something to happen in a specific order every single time, like step 1, extract data, step 2, route to manager, step 3, wait for approval before sending, that's a workflow. No variation, no AI improvisation, just execution. Here's a real-world example. You build an agent for your team. The instructions set the tone. Helpful, professional, concise. A skill handles meeting notes, takes messy transcripts and produces clean summaries. And a workflow routes that summary to the team lead for approval before it gets saved. Instructions shape the behavior, skills do the work, and workflows enforce the process. Now here's what matters for you as a beginner. Most people only need skills. Instructions come built in with any agent you create. They already have default behavior. Workflows are for advanced automation scenarios. If you're just starting out, focus on skills. They give you the most value for the least complexity. And the naming confusion across all these products, it's just marketing. Microsoft calls them agents in chat, skills in co-work, skills in studio. Different names, same core idea. Instructions plus a trigger plus an output format. Once you understand that, the product names stop mattering. Let's wrap up everything we've covered into one clear takeaway. A Copilot skill is simply a reusable instruction set that turns your AI into a specialist for any task you do on repeat. That's the core idea. Nothing more, nothing less. Here's where you start. Open Copilot Chat today and describe just one task you do every week, maybe a weekly report or a meeting recap. See what the agent builder creates, then test and refine it. You'll be surprised how fast it works. I hope this gave you a clearer picture of what Copilot Skills can do. If this episode helped you, subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and share it with a friend or colleague who's been confused by all the new terminology. See you next time.